In this tutorial, I will show you a very useful VBA function which is called InputBox Function. InputBox is a function that shows an input box to the user and collects a response. This input information can then be used in our VBA code or in an Excel worksheet. To open the Visual Basic Editor, use the keyboard shortcut Alt plus F11. Click Insert a new module. Double-click on the inserted module to create a new macro. InputBox function syntax has 7 arguments, but just the first 3 of them are used the most. The first parameter is prompt. It is the required parameter, a string that is displayed as a message in the dialog box. All other parameters are optional. The second parameter is title, a string expression displayed in the title bar of the dialog box. If the title is left blank, the application name is placed in the title bar. The third parameter is default, a default text in the text box that the user would like to be displayed. Let's have an example. We want to insert the first and last names in columns A and B. Firstly, we declare the start of a subroutine named inputName. Dim first name and last name as string. These lines declare 2 variables, first name and last name, as string types. This line uses the InputBox function to prompt the user to enter their first name. The prompt parameter is enter first name. Title parameter input first name. Similarly, this line uses another input box to prompt the user to enter their last name. These lines use the range object to set the values of cells A2 and B2 in the active worksheet. The first name variable is assigned to cell A2, and the last name variable is assigned to cell B2. Let's run this macro using the run icon. Enter the first name. Enter the last name. As you can see, we have input data in the A and B columns. In this section, we will look at the validation of input from the user using the application InputBox method. The main difference between the InputBox function and the application InputBox method is that the InputBox method allows checking the correctness of entered data. The InputBox method adds an extra argument of type, which specifies the type of data to be entered. We can allow the user to enter only text, numbers, or logical values. Also, if you click the Cancel button, the InputBox method returns false, whereas the InputBox function returns an empty text string. The syntax for this method is same as the InputBox function. The arguments of this method are mostly similar to the arguments of the InputBox function. Just there is an extra parameter here that is type. It's an optional argument. Actually, it defines the type of returned data. In the absence of this option, the input box will just return text as a default. Here is the list of the value of the data types. 1 is a number. 2 is a text string. 4 is a boolean, true or false. 8 is a range or cell reference. 16 is NA. 64 is array. Let's have an example. We will use the type argument to allow just numeric input. Sub-input box number. This line declares the start of a subroutine named InputBox number. Dim user input as variant. This line declares a variable named user input of the variant data type. The variant type can store any type of data. This line uses the application.InputBox function to prompt the user to enter a numeric value. The title of the input box is set to numeric input, and the input type is specified as numeric using type equals 1. The entered value is stored in the user input variable. These lines check if the user clicked the cancel button. If user input is equal to false, it means the user clicked cancel. In that case, a message box is displayed and the subroutine exits. These lines check if the entered value is numeric using the isNumeric function. If it is, a message box is displayed with the entered value. If not, an error message is displayed. Now, run the code. The input box appears. Input the number. Click OK. We got the message with the entered value. But what would happen if I didn't enter a number? Let's see. Run the macro again. We will write text in the input box. Then, click OK. Instantly, it will show a warning box that the data type is not a number. To save the macro, you need to save the workbook as macro enabled. Go to the File in the Save As section. Choose Location and choose Excel Macro Enabled Workbook. If you found this tutorial helpful, please subscribe to my YouTube channel.